One of the best ways that you can scale up and have essentially unlimited scale is being able to crack cold paid advertising audiences. And to be able to do that, you have to have cold offers that work really well with people who have no idea who the fuck you are, have never had an impression with your brand or business before. And you don't just need to be able to successfully crack in market demographics when you go to cold. You have to be able to convert needs convinced and mass market demographics to be able to have true scale. But there is a process. There's a flow. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna go from different stages that you need to roll into and test first before you get to cold paid advertising offers and audiences. We're gonna go through in this specific video some of the best practices that relate to those. We'll talk about dialing in things like messaging, what steps you should take in order to get there, what types of offers typically work best, and we're just gonna go through the funnels that also work really well. Welcome into the video. We're in a little bit of a new environment here today. We're down here in good old Miami, Florida, where we currently reside at. Been here for a little over 12 years. We're not new to this. Fun fact, just last night, we actually tried to come here at nighttime and film this exact video, and the 750 here, my video guy and I behind the scenes, we got frapped. I didn't know that was a thing. I don't think it's a thing. I pray to God it's not a thing. Class warfare may have started last night. It was a biblical story. We had come to deliver you a message, a great message about how to get richer and make a fuckload more money. And instead, a fucking hoodlum, a straight up hoodlum, an impoverished underdwelling, a critter, had on a bicycle driven by and tossed a fucking caramel frappuccino on my 750S, and subsequently, because the top was down, on my boy and I here, okay? So we came to deliver you a message, and instead we drove back home, changed, cleaned up a little bit because we were real sticky, and the 750 smelled like a Starbucks. We got the detailer to come out and rectify all the impoverished people problems that they tried to throw my way. We were back out here last night filming a different video with the 911 Turbo S for you guys. Same ordeal, just at nighttime. It just felt right to come out here with the 750 and rectify the wrongs of that impoverished critter that tried to hold us back. So here we are, delivering the gospel to you, okay? We will not be held back. We will not be a messenger that is silenced, okay? So again, if you're sitting here right now, may this be your sign, your spiritual signal from above that you're intended to be here and receive this, just as we're intended to sit here and deliver it to you. So welcome in. Okay, anyway, long digression aside, if you're new to the channel, all we do around here is talk about $1 million months. This exact lesson is fitting into that, of course. We're not talking about little baby shit. We're talking about cracking $1 million months with cold paid advertising offers inside of this videos and the best practices that relate to them. So welcome in if you're new. After you get some value from this video, make sure you subscribe, or at least consider subscribing. And if you're already a subscriber, welcome back. Always a pleasure to have you. I don't think you guys have seen this specific car yet. I threw some white rims on it just recently. We're in Miami, you know, you gotta have white rims, white shoes, white rims, you know what I mean? It's just how it goes. Okay, so anyway, back to the point at hand. Lesson number one, this is really important to understand. There's typically like a little game of hopscotch that you play when you eventually get to the point where you need to consider cold paid advertising offers, okay? And it's not just something that in most instances you just immediately go try to do first. In most instances, what you're typically gonna do first is you're gonna start with organic traffic, okay? Not all of you. To be fair to some of you out there that immediately put your balls on the table and have more willingness to take risk, you got a bigger appetite for risk, you might just go straight up to paid advertising audiences. And maybe you skip to cold straight away, which is great. But let me talk to those that start with what they consider layup deals first. With organic, there's an unbound amount of time and content consumption that generally occurs that establishes a strong familiarity bias in every lead that you're typically selling to. Almost everybody who sells organically has no idea how many videos are consumed and over what span of time they're consumed. All they know is that people consistently show up and just say, I watched your videos and that's why I'm here and I'm buying right now. And they're layup deals. Like your sales team fucking loves these types of deals. They're so simple to close. They might as well work at a grocery store and be a cashier. They're just transactional people at that point. They're cash collectors, not really salespeople. They generally just have to answer a handful of questions, maybe even a little bit of follow-up. The second step that people generally take is they roll over to warm paid advertising. And believe it or not, a lot of people die right here. This is where a lot of businesses, like they dabble in this. They might have hired a shitty agency or two, or to be fair to of some agencies, good agencies, that just didn't crack it for them, and they gave up too fast. They didn't have enough cash to see through the paid advertising cycle and get it to the point where it became profitable, and so they typically give up here. Warm audiences, to be clear, are typically just remarketing. It's just paid remarketing to the organic audiences that are otherwise left unconverted. These are your video views, these are your warm social interactions, like think all the profile interactions, DMs, messages, content consumption, visiting profiles, etc., website visitors, lists, things like that. That's warm audiences. Again, like this can be, especially when you do video views for some reason, a little bit colder, but like, yeah, you know, still really close to organic, less of a familiarity bias, but still enough to get you a good ROAS and start the process of paid advertising. So this typically is step 2. From there, that's when cold officially makes sense. This is where you have a very clear line of sight to, I need to officially be able to get into offers and opportunities that are gonna crack people who have no idea who I am and get them to buy and be profitable on those audiences. That's where a lot of the scale is, okay? And so the first principle that you really have to understand, the one main lesson where it all kind of starts, is what works organically is generally not something that you're gonna be able to roll over to cold paid audiences. You have to have cold paid audience offers, okay? So let me give you a great example of this. On my organic content right now, on my channel, I routinely pitch things like my Inner Circle program, my Master Internet Marketing offer, which there's links for down in the description, of course, that you can check out. And all I know is, if and when you eventually convert on one of those offers, you've watched a lot of my videos here on the channel, you loved them, you got value from them, you likely made some money with them, and you like me as a person, right? And you say to yourself, like, all right, I'm ready to buy. If I took those offers, like if I just took, let's say, the Inner Circle program, okay, which is thousands of dollars a month, there's minimum qualifications you have to have just to qualify to even buy it in terms of what you have to make consistently every month. And again, we have commitments in terms of time frames. That's a very like high friction offer to take to people who have no idea who the fuck I am. So in that case, it's like, do I need to change the offer? It's like, well, not necessarily, right? There's very important things to consider there. In my world, I've created several strategies called content first advertising strategies. And the concepts of them are very simple. I take content, just literally like what you're watching right now, and I will pay to distribute that content towards people who have no idea who I am. In some of my strategies, like the Venus Flytrap or the Venus Flytrap 2.0, I will sequence videos before putting direct response in front of an individual. And on this channel, I have an entire breakdown of my original sequenced content strategy called the Venus Flytrap. You can go and check it out after this. Full in-depth breakdown of how that works. And again, I have the newest iteration of it, the Venus Flytrap 2.0, which adds more content to each step of the process, increases the probability that people work through the sequence at a higher rate, eventually to reach the direct response. So just as what you're doing literally right now, you're getting value from me, you have a higher probability to like me, you have a higher probability to be like, oh, it seems like this guy can actually help me, because what I'm doing here is I'm just putting my expertise on display and giving you opportunities to make money from what I'm talking to you about prior to you actually buying from me. That's an incredible strategy for info as an example, but if you have like a physical product business, like my buddy, he sells hyperbaric chambers. It's like, sure, he could put content sequences in front of cold audiences who have no idea who he is and successfully convert folks by making them aware about how great, like as an example, Brian Johnson, the guy who's constantly bragging about his nighttime erections and living forever, or trying to live forever, that is, he fully endorses the potential theoretical benefits of hyperbaric chambers, okay? You put a piece of content like that from like a known authority figure in front of somebody before you run ads to them for hyperbaric chambers, you'd obviously have a higher probability to have a person think, who doesn't know you, doesn't know they want to buy a hyperbaric chamber, that might be good for them. You follow that up with him talking about, like right across the street, you got the Miami Heat arena. Miami Heat are actually one of his customers. Same with several other large sports franchises across many different types of sports. Same things with just rich people, med spas. There's all kinds of businesses and individuals alike that buy his products for the supposed medical benefits of hyperbaric chambers. And again, if I didn't know I wanted to buy a hyperbaric chamber, that kind of content would influence my psyche and increase the probabilities I'd buy. Could I do those same exact things inside of direct response ads and drive people to a potential purchase? Yeah, I could do that too. Okay, in info, there's a higher probability you're gonna need to run like full-blown content sequences before and after direct response to increase the probabilities people buy in shorter durations of time, especially when they don't know you. For physical products, for services that people already understand but don't necessarily identify that they're a buyer for, we have to have some content and or direct response ads that are very different in terms of how they're optimized, how the messaging is, and overall what we're gonna do to attempt to get people to convert who don't actively identify as, I want that product, I'm ready to buy. Okay, if I cut myself right now, like if I just, I don't know, fall down and I scrape my knee, it's like, well, I don't want to have some filthy shit in this nasty parking lot just going through my body. I'm gonna go across the street to a CVS, fucking blast that thing with hydrogen peroxide, throw some Neosporin on there, and then bandage that shit. It's like, I'm not really a in-market buyer until I have a cut and need those types of products. The other day I'd gone down to this beautiful little resort down in the Keys called Little Palm Island. Beautiful little place, by the way, if you ever want to disconnect. Terrible Wi-Fi, but regardless, I digress. That place, I was just laying around in the sun all day. I got quite a sunburn. I'm just a traditional white boy from the northeastern United States. I'm not built for this Miami sunshine and this Florida sunshine that beats down on me and blesses me every day. I can get burnt. And as a result of getting burnt, I want to throw some aloe vera on it in order to make it feel better. You understand? It's like, I'm not just fucking buying aloe vera unless I have a sunburn. Then I'm in the market for that kind of thing. That's where most people really fall short. They have an issue where their direct response ads only scale to the demographic that they're currently optimized to sell to. If I'm selling aloe vera and I am only selling to in-market demographics, I'm gonna have a bad time. I'm gonna have a limited quantity of buyers that I'm capable of selling to at any moment. What would be better to do would be to find a way to convince people. It's like, I know the benefits of aloe vera. I know the benefits of hydrogen peroxide and Neosporin and Band-Aids, but I'm not just like actively thinking all the time like, oh, I need to go load up on that kind of shit. However, with the right type of ad that gets put in front of you, with the right type of messaging, there's a much higher probability that you can crack that type of demographic and actually get them to buy. Now, to my point I am attempting to make, what works organically and what might even work with warm paid audiences is not always what works with cold. Okay, with cold, there's really a few things you could choose to vary. Okay, so first of all, we have this concept from Chet Holmes, a book called The Ultimate Selling Machine. He introduces it in this concept called stadium selling. He visualizes it like this, where he says, at any given moment, you have a demographic of people, a small demographic, he argues about 3 to 4%, which by the way, I generally find to be true, that he calls in-market customers. And like I just described, these are people who know they want to buy whatever it is you got. They actively identify as, I got that problem, you offer the solution, I'm going to buy it. Or they have the desire for whatever you're selling, for the desirable thing you offer, they want to buy it, okay? That is an in-market demographic, and again, small percentage, but let's say you target 100 million people. Having 3 to 4 million people as in-market demographic buyers is really good. Like, that's still a lot of people, right? If you converted 3 to 4 million customers on your product, I'm sure you'd have a jolly old smile on your face, okay? However, the scale occurs when you crack these other two layers, which are anywhere from like 30 to 33%. This specific demographic is what's called the needs convinced demographic, okay? This specific demographic, and then this next layer, which is called mass market. These two specifically are where you have true and genuine scale. This is where the real money is, okay? Now, it's important to note, point number 3 kind of relates to this second point I'm attempting to make, which is you have to have dialed in messaging. Dialed in messaging means you're actively thinking of the demographic that you're talking to. Like when I sit here and I make this video for you, I'm technically thinking of 2 different audiences at the same time. I'm thinking of me taking this video, spending money on it to people who have no idea who I am, and actively attempting to sway them into a Jeremy fan to eventually spend money with me. And I'm also, more importantly, thinking of you sitting here right now, likely watching this on YouTube, where you are considering, okay, hey, like I watch a handful of videos on this guy's channel, or maybe you're very new to me and you've never watched a video from me before. And I'm talking specifically to you. It's like in the context of also where you're watching this. You see what I mean? The point I'm attempting to make is, I will change how I communicate relative to who I'm communicating to. Okay, this weekend I go and speak. One of my clients here in Miami, they're flying in for an event they're hosting. Miss Cody Sanchez, she has me speaking during a workshop to some of her higher ticket buyers that she's had. And to be clear, during that workshop, I'm talking to people who have no idea who the fuck I am. All they know is I run ads for Cody. It's like that's the only context they have on me as an individual. So I'm not gonna talk like they already know who I am beyond that specific point. I have to introduce things. I have to do a little soft flexing and work in specific examples from clients that we've done over the years. So I establish a strong authority bias beyond the fact they're already customers of the client that I'm specifically helping in this case. I have to establish the fact that I know what I'm talking about. I have to introduce things to them and concepts that are gonna help them make money, okay? Again, you have to talk relative to who you're attempting to communicate to. The messaging being dialed in makes a significant difference, okay? Let me be clear on this point. I'll give you a perfect example. I have a different client, they have a book funnel, and the book funnel is a great example of an offer type that can be taken to cold audiences, okay? It's low ticket, it's low commitment, doesn't take that much money to obviously transact, and it gets somebody in the door, and we liquidate some of the ad spend that it takes to get them in the door. Listen to this crazy shit, okay? On average, it takes a good 4 to 5 weeks in order to see anywhere from a 0 point something ROAS to upwards of a 4 ROAS. So it's like 1 week might be a 4 ROAS, the next week might be a 0.9. The next week is always a 4 ROAS, the next week's like a 0.3. And it averages out typically to about a 2 to 1 ROAS within a 4 to 5 week window, okay? That's what it averages out to. Now, we're fronting cash in that example for 4 to 5 weeks. We're a little bit outside of the credit card cycle window. So we're technically fronting cash, which I don't like to do. I typically like to actually have the cash back by the time the credit cards are due. You can switch to things like Facebook invoicing, or on the other ad channels, there are invoicing options, which are gonna enable you to be able to operate on net 30. That helps a lot when you have sales cycles that are this long, because again, we're fronting cash, we're making back some of that ad spend with the book sale and some of the upsells associated with the book. And long story short, 4 to 5 weeks, $12,000 average order value. The AOV comes out to about 12K. But listen to this crazy shit. Over the course of the book being purchased to about 5 months later, that whole cycle of time going by, average ROAS ends up being anywhere from about 12 to 1 all the way up to about 19 to 1. Okay, but there's a lot of inconsistency in the short term. There's a much, like dramatically higher ROAS over a broader duration of time. But that kind of fucking sucks. You know, it's like not a funnel that we get to regularly scale up. It's not a funnel that the organization has extreme confidence in. It's not something as an advertiser that we've just perpetually put more dollars into. Because here's the thing, sometimes that 2 to 1 ROAS in a 4 to 5 week window isn't there, because it's not 100% of the time that we're seeing that 4 to 1 ROAS. It's like either under a 1 or above a 4. And as a result of that, it makes you lose confidence in being able to front the cash, even though with a really high probability, they're upwards of a minimum of like 10 to 1 after 5 months. But it's like, who the fuck wants to front cash for 5 months at a time? There's some businesses that operate like that, but that's not ideal, okay? What's much more ideal is that you have 2 different things factored in your consideration, front end and back end. So front end, it's like you need to be thinking with strategies, okay? So strategies are things like content ad strategies. Strategies are also things like offers, okay? So as an example, if somebody who doesn't know you is considering like, hey, you know, Jeremy, your content ad strategies sound pretty sick. Your back-end selling systems, they sound pretty sick. But dude, I don't want to spend 5 grand with you yet on your lowest ticket product, master internet marketing. I'd rather spend like, I don't know, maybe like $100. It's like, well, I could have a low ticket thing that's easy to consume, fast to get a result with, make somebody consume it fast, so therefore the upsell cycle can be fast, and bang, like that would be a win-win. Be a win for us because we'd liquidate the ad spend to get the buyer, and it'd be a win for us because we're gonna upsell them fast because they get a result quick. And obviously it's a win for them too because they're getting a big fucking result quick. You understand? I can't stress this enough. It's like the right offers with cold make or break everything. If I tried to take my 5K master internet marketing program and just market it to people who have no idea who I am, it's like I could likely do that, to be fair. I could, but again, it's like rather than the offer changing, it's the funnel, aka the conversion mechanism. In that case, it might be a call funnel if I have a baller offer, but it's more probable to be something like a webinar. It's more probable to be something like a challenge funnel. All right, I could even do, as I just described, something like a low ticket to high ticket ascension offer. You see? So this makes a big difference. It's like these are the 3 things that I can really consider. Front end strategies like content ad strategies or direct response. Do I want to do maybe a tweak on my offer that I'm going to present to cold audiences? And or do I want to change the funnel type that I'm going to put those people through without changing the offer itself? Then I have the back end to consider. So the back end is a little different. Back end can be things like our lifetime value. This is where we look at, all right, if I can acquire a cold audience buyer at like a break even or a little bit profitable and I get my money back, it's like, well, okay, well, how long is it gonna take for me to just jack the lifetime value up of that individual, right? That could justify fronting cash and being break even on it or just a little bit profitable and then focusing more on the lifetime value, AKA just upsells, right? And the speed in which I can get people to upsell. You understand? It's like in addition to back end stuff, it's like, well, we got all the back-end selling systems. So the back-end selling systems are things like, well, could I take all of the information that leads to action and a priority in the individual's mind, and could I get it to them through things like breakout videos, the hammer them strategy, value-dense email sequences, manual outreach from salespeople. I'll tell you one thing that I've seen time and time again that always works is a baller dialed-in sales team. There is truly nothing better than a dialed-in sales team with all of the best practices of back-end selling systems tied together. It's so good what it does for increasing the probability you actually convert cold audiences who have no idea who you are at scale consistently. Can't stress it enough. So anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, rather than just sometimes rolling out what's currently working for you in one mechanism, like your organic or your warm audiences, you have to consider what you're gonna change, right? You're gonna change the strategy, like you're gonna try to replicate your organic sales process with paid ads through content ad strategies, or are you gonna change things like the offer? Are you gonna change your direct response to have messaging that relates to the specific demographics that you are attempting to sell to, right? It's like all of these things independently of each other can create monumental change that helps drive conversions at scale profitably for cold paid audiences. But the main thing, like the absolute main thing, one of the most important things that you must walk away with from this specific video is that cold paid audiences are where the money is at scale. You're trying to crack $1 million months, like you likely already know this. It's like it's easy, it's relatively easy. I'm not making an income claim. 0.1% of people get to $10 million a year according to the US Bureau of Labor Statistics. I don't even know how few people get to a couple hundred grand a month, but there's obviously not a fucking ton of people out here that do. The point I'm attempting to make is simple. When I say it's easy, it's for those of you that are smart, have great offers, dialed in systems, aren't fucking idiots, and are actually gonna take consistent scaled actions. Listen, it's relatively easy to get to a couple hundred grand a month, okay? Once you get to a couple hundred grand a month, it's like, that's where you get the friction. You know what I mean? That's when you experience your first layer of like, oh fuck, you know, like what I'm doing now isn't probable to scale up to that next level. What do I gotta change? This set of lessons we just talked about is what you are extremely probable to need to change in order to get the results that you're after. So long story short, you want the real sauce, you want the examples of how to do this, the one-on-one help of how to do this. Check out the Inner Circle program down in the description. I do one-on-one calls, weekly group calls on topics just like this in extreme depth. We get very consistent feedback from the risk takers that are willing to purchase it, that they love the differences in value density of my paid programs comparatively to just the free stuff I put out here on YouTube. My main goal is to give you as much free, valuable, good, result-oriented communication that I can right here on YouTube at no cost to you to help you be able to more easily justify purchasing one of my paid programs. So if you're ready to take the leap, check out the links down in the description. We also do quarterly masterminds in the Inner Circle offer. We have a very active group chat. We have 18 people in there currently doing more than $1 million a month. Average earners in there do like 200 to 300K. It's baller for everybody. There's minimums that you must make in order to qualify, minimum commitments as well that you must commit to in order to be allowed in. We take that very seriously. We will not capitulate our standards to some idiot who thinks that we'd rather have money in comparison to a baller, dialed in, well-protected community. So don't try to work around our systems. We don't give a fuck. We got people that'll buy regardless besides you. And I want to be very clear, upcoming end of the summer, in August, we're starting our 5th cohort for the Master Internet Marketing Program. Would absolutely love to have you a part of that at the very least. Very, very dense amounts of information, 3 to 5 hours of class. And look, at the very least, subscribe to the channel. Go check out some of my other videos. There's a ton of great stuff here for you. And yeah, go out there and get richer. Talk soon.